Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom, giving honor and praise to the Most High, the Creator and Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshiah Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. Brothers and sisters, this presentation, in due respect and honor of whom I came from, my mother, may she rest in peace. This month, quote unquote, October 1982, 40 years ago, is when she came into the understanding of being an Israelite. She was brought to a place, brothers and sisters, that is located in the Bronx called She'erit B'nai Yisrael. And from 1982 until 1990, we attended that place and learned a lot, saw a lot, picked up on a lot. And being there from the age of 2 until the age of 10, I will never, ever say I will want to turn in them years for anything else, brothers and sisters. It is something, brothers and sisters, that made an impact upon me as a person. I learned, in so many words, how to read comfortably in the presence of people in She'erit. I learned what Hebrew was as far as there being an alphabet. I remember looking at Hebrew and saying, is it kind of like scribble scrabble? But come to find out, it was not. Brothers and sisters, after being in She'erit for 8 years, and by then definitely acquiring the understanding of Torah, the understanding of Genesis chapter 10, to know that we come out of the line of Shem through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We went to a congregation called Bnei Adat, called Beit Yisrael, which was located in Brooklyn. And that is where once Hebrew knowledge really became influenced by a person named Adon Aharon. For those who've been following the channels, you know about my teachers who influenced me regarding the language. So, brothers and sisters, in giving honor and praise unto the Most High, this particular lesson, or presentation, if we will, we do not intend for it to be long. Nonetheless, we do intend, brothers and sisters, to have it brought out in the eyes of the people, if we will. I want to, brothers and sisters, if I can, go over a particular thing, if we will. I want to show this picture here. How's everybody doing? Here we see Moreh Yeshiah going in on Hebrew linguistics in honor of his mother. Anyone who's been following the channels know mommy already passed, that being over 18 years ago. The Hebrew that you see there, brothers and sisters, the kaf, the bet, the dalet, the waw, the hey, in between the two books and so forth, says in Hebrew, kebdua. Kebdua. What that word means, brothers and sisters, is kebdua, honor her. It comes from the root word kabed, brothers and sisters, which means honor. And brothers and sisters, kibdu is the pluralization of the command form kabed. You have kabed, kibdi, kibdu, and so forth. Well, kibduha That hey at the end signifies ha, meaning her. I'm not telling the world to honor her. I'm saying that she is due honor. Certainly, whether you're on this plane or not. And by that, I mean whether you're here or not. I will never, until I breathe my last breath, allow the memory of who set my feet on a path of knowledge to be dishonored, given within my power and authority. So, brothers and sisters, let us get into this particular presentation. How is everyone? Okay. We're going to, brothers and sisters, take off that part. Share the screen, if we will. Have it done from that particular point. And share it in that particular case. So get your pens, your pads, your papers, and so forth, brothers and sisters, because of what we are going to be getting into and what we are going to be talking about in this particular case, and giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the one who sees all and is not seen, the one who judges all and is not judged. And this is no disrespect intended. The prophets of the Old Testament, as it is called, the Old Testament or the Tanakh, did not speak English. So we want to increase our knowledge in Hebrew as much as possible. My advice to everybody is learn the Hebrew words that you use all the time. Learn the Hebrew words that you use all the time in English. So if you are a car driver, if you drive, if that's really what you're into, the word for drive is nihel. The word for road is rokob. The word for go in roots is halak. And the word for stop in roots is kadal. So learn the vocabulary of what you use and do all the time in the current language you speak, and your Hebrew vocabulary will increase. So brothers and sisters, without any further ado, let us pull this up and get into this particular presentation, if we will. Hebrew linguistics in honor of my mother. Giving honor and giving glory and honor to the creator of heaven and earth. This presentation is dedicated on a human level to the honor of my mother, my first and most important teacher. She influenced me to get into the language. This book here, Hebrew is Easy, Volume 6, is dedicated to the memory of my mother, my first teacher. If anyone cares to support the channel, you can do so by PayPal by number 908-587-4841. Again, that is 908-587-4841. One can also support by sharing the video to family and friends. One can also buy the books which are advertised by going to Amazon and typing Yeshiah Yisrael, and the books that a brother wrote will show. Name of my mother, Nifla'ah. What you're seeing on the right side is the Hebrew alphabet. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Waw, Zayah, Het, Tet, Yod, Kaf, Kaf Sofit, Lamed, Mem, Mem Sofit, Nun, Nun Sofit, Samech, Ayin, Pei, Pei Sofit, Zadeh, Zadeh Sofit, Kuf, Re, Shin, Tau. Now, just to point something out real quick, the Hebrew alphabet has 22 letters, and you see that in the Bible in Psalms 119. Now, we're going to go over this alphabet chart again with just the letters that you would have seen in the time of, say, King David of ancient Israel or Jeremiah the prophet some centuries later. And here's how it will go. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Waw, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yod, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Pei, Zade, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tau. You may have noticed that there's no vet, there's no sin, there's no sofit, nun sofit, ka sofit, etc. when you say go into Psalms 119. It was customary in Israel to offer prayer on behalf of somebody by going to Psalms 119 and taking the letters of their name and reading those verses that coincide with that particular case. That was a custom in Israel that I remember growing up in. Nifla'ah means wonderful. We have, brothers and sisters, here the Nun, the Pei, the Lamed, the Aleph, and the Hey. Nifla means wonderful in the aspect of a male. Nifla'ah means wonderful in the aspect of a female. So this is something we want to point out for reference purposes. Next slide. Nifla'ah. Pele. The word Pele, you see there with the Pei, the Lamed, and the Aleph. It means wondrous, wonderful, of wonder, or inspiring. That is the meaning of that word in that particular case. The top we see Nifla'ah, the name my mother had, meaning wonderful. It was not a common name among many of the females among the Israelites in the camps and so forth. We see here on this side here the vowels. Now, of course, there are some who, no disrespect intended, say that Hebrew has no vowels. There's a couple of things we want to say concerning that. You cannot have a language without vowels. Because in order to have, brothers and sisters, sound, you must have vowels. A vowel, as we see here on the right side of this PowerPoint, is a sound that is written. That's simply what a vowel is. So to the brothers and sisters who say, say like shalawam, that ah that you just said in shalawam is, brothers and sisters, a vowel. You understand? So in light of that particular case, A, E, I, O, and U are vowels. Vowels again, as we even see here, the kwamatz, the patak, the zere, the segol, the shawah, the kolam, kataf kwamatz, kataf patak, kirik, kataf segol, kubutz, shuruk. Whether it is written in or not, there are sounds when people talk. So to say Hebrew was only ah, that ah is still a vowel. You cannot speak without making sound. Therefore, whether you say it had written vowels or not, we know that Hebrew had vowels. How do you, brothers and sisters, then identify the masculine and the feminine in Hebrew without said vowels, especially when you're dealing with the verbs? How do you identify, brothers and sisters, the past tense and the future tense in certain cases? And how, no disrespect intended, do you identify whether one is a deviant, which is the word nalos, where you get the word in part kodesha, regarding with homosexuality, and the word kwadosh, which means holy. Two words that sound alike. but totally different meaning. So, brothers and sisters, vowels had to have existed. Heaven forbid somebody is blind. They're still able to speak. So when we look at Hebrew now, learning it as teenagers and older, and say, well, if I don't see vowels, A, E, I, O, and U, there were no vowels. So what in the ancient day, heaven forbid, somebody is blind and cannot see? Because we are learning Hebrew by what we see, not what we hear from being babies in many cases. We speak English, and there are many people who are illiterate and cannot read and write even in English. So if a person in ancient days was illiterate of Hebrew for one reason or the other, what will that person speak or say? That is something that has to be asked regarding that particular case. So this is no disrespect intended to anyone's understanding. But yes, Hebrew had sounds. And yes, by default, Hebrew had vowels, whether written or not. Let us go on to the next slide. There is more information in the book advertised, Hebrew is Easy, Volume 6. When you look at this here, this book is on Amazon. Hebrew is Easy, Volume 6. That book sells for $8. We're not trying to break each other's pockets in regards with those kind of matters. And Leah said, happy am I, for the daughters will call me happy. And she called his name Asher. Watomer Leah ba'ashri ki ishruni banot watikra et shemo Asher. Asher meaning happy also means blessed. The picture you see there on the side is a picture of my mother and myself, obviously when I was a child. Yeah. Rocking garments as early as those days. That picture dates back to 1986. Do you see why a brother on his post on Facebook or advertising a book in honor of his mother? I'm now 42 years old, brothers and sisters. This picture, again, goes back to 1986. Mommy, may she rest in peace, was not one of those Israelite women, I can wear pants. She came into understanding Israel in her 30s. The pants was gotten rid of. And as you see here, shown in the picture, without any problem, very effeminate in a feminine color in a skirt. And I say this in no disrespect, was a well-rounded mother. I got everything for those who hear me speak upon my mother, may she rest in peace. I got everything from hugs to money to getting put on punishment to being told that I can be great. She was, I say this in no disrespect, not the biggest history fan. I remember asking, she being alive in the 1960s, I remember asking her about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. And her statement was, when Martin Luther King was assassinated, the smoke that was being brought from Manhattan was seen in Brooklyn due to the riots. But she said she had to go to work. I remember that being stated. So while we want to carry the baton, we do not want to disrespect those who set the tone for us. For me, in part, it was Ima or mother for me. I don't know who it is for everybody else. And I respect those whom you respect as your foundation and teacher, be it physical family or extended. Happy am I, said Leah when she gave birth. Now, why did I go over that in Genesis 35, 33? Genesis 29, sorry. Because usually Genesis 39 and Genesis 30. I stand corrected. Genesis 29 and Genesis 30 is when you read about the birth of Jacob's children. My mother laid claim to being of the tribe of Asher, which means happy. So that's why I put that part there in that particular case. But again, regarding the name Asher and the Hebrew breakdown of this verse here is expounded upon in the book Hebrew is Easy, Volume 6, a book dedicated to my mother, my first teacher, who taught to me about certain things I do not care to talk about on this platform. If for those who do know, I was a boy and I'm now a man. There's certain things she told me that we just won't talk about here. You understand? Life, real talk. So just using that as a catalyst and using that as an example, brothers and sisters, I do pay homage to who set the precedent for myself. Again, this picture you see here goes back to me being 6 years old. And we was out in Brooklyn inside of the park, brothers and sisters. You understand? I'm now 42, so this is over 30 years ago. So a young man was brought up in this. Not that I'm perfect. Not that I didn't do things against my mother that's against the laws of the Most High. May she rest in peace and may my soul be forgiven. What I am saying, having not been the best son, what I am saying nonetheless is the honor is still due. Like when you read in Ecclesiasticus chapter 3 in the Apocrypha. Let's go on, if we will, to the next part. The stems explain the nif'al. There are 7 verb stems within the Hebrew language. The qual, the nif'al, the pl, the pu'al, the hif'il, the hofal, the hipa'el. The qual is the stem used the most. The nif'al is the passive of the qual. Thus, akaz, which we see here, to hold. That's what akaz means. And the qual is ne'ekaz in the nif'al, meaning it is held. So now, the qual stem being the active, the nif'al stem being the passive. So as you see me moving the mouse with the highlighter there, my hand is on the part called the mouse. So my hand is active. The mouse attached to the computer is passive. So that is the difference between active and passive. The qual is the active. The nif'al is the passive. The letter nun, my favorite letter, is used as a prefix in the nif'al stem. And if we look here, brothers and sisters, we see I would like to take the time out now to circle that letter, which is my favorite Hebrew letter, by the way. In that particular case, the nun. Now let's look. This is a time before my mother. And we see children of the people dealing in Hebrew as children. So brothers and sisters, we want to continue this legacy and not let it drop as if it's nothing. Shalom, Dorayahu ben Dora. Shalom, 12 tribes, children of Israel. Shalom, truth be told. And anybody else who at the sound of the voice, whether this is live or you hear it later on, Most High be with you, bless you, protect you. Hopefully all is well with you and your family. And brothers and sisters, we're going to close out this particular lesson, if we will. And in doing so, I am asking the people to subscribe to the channel. I am asking you all to share the video and asking you all to have a blessed week. Reach out to the brother if you care to. 908-587-4841. Shalom.